The final screening. Diana had always loved independent horror films. So when the old Eden Theater announced its one-night-only reopening with an unreleased 1970s horror film, The Final Screening, she didn't hesitate. She bought her ticket online, surprised it wasn't sold out. On the night of the showing, the theater loomed like a forgotten cathedral, its neon lights flickering in the fog. Inside, the air was heavy with mildew and dust, but Diana felt a strange excitement. The lobby was empty. No staff, no other guests. She assumed she was just early. The old posters on the walls advertised movies long since forgotten. Everything felt paused. The auditorium was dark except for the screen, which displayed a countdown clock. 000512 and ticking down. She took a seat in the middle. The velvet cushions were worn but soft. Still, the silence pressed down on her. After a few minutes, she checked her phone. No signal. She looked around. No one else had come in. The countdown reached 0. The screen faded to black. Then a title appeared, blood red against a grainy background, The Final Screening. It started like any old horror film, a group of teenagers sneaking into a movie theater after hours. But something felt wrong. The theater on screen looked exactly like Eden. Same layout, same green exit signs. Even the tear in the curtain to the left of the screen was identical. Diana leaned forward. Then she noticed the characters in the film were reacting to things around her. One looked straight into the camera, or was it through the screen, and whispered, "She's here." The audience in the movie turned their heads, all at once, and looked straight at Diana. She laughed nervously. "Good effect," she whispered to herself. "Very meta." But then her seat grew cold. The air smelled of sulfur. On screen, the projection room door opened slowly. A shadowy figure stepped out, tall, faceless, draped in flickering static. The theater lights above Diana began to dim further. The screen grew louder. Static, distorted screaming. Suddenly, she saw herself on screen. Same clothes, same seat. Her on-screen self looked terrified. She tried to stand, but her legs were weak, as if something was holding her down. She turned, no one. But when she looked forward again, the figure on screen was right behind her, double, and then behind her. She felt cold breath on her neck. She ran. The exit doors were sealed shut, bolted from the outside. The screen behind her flickered violently. Her own screams echoed across the theater. Then, silence. The lights snapped on. She was back in her seat. No screen, no movie. Just silence. Her phone buzzed. One notification. "Thank you for attending the final screening. You may now exit." Diana stood, heart pounding. This had to be a prank, some kind of immersive horror experience. But when she opened the theater doors, the lobby was gone. In its place, a grainy hallway of film, endless, colorless strips of celluloid running along the walls like veins. A voice whispered from nowhere, "The screening never ends." She screamed as the hallway dissolved into darkness. The next day, the Eden Theater was boarded up. Locals said no one had been inside for years. The marquee still read, "One night only, the final screening." No one remembered seeing it lit, and no one ever found Diana. The back row. "Come on, it'll be fun," Jason insisted, holding the flashlight under his chin to emphasize his smirk. "One night in the old Grand Royale Theater. We'll watch a horror movie, drink, and say we survived the haunted cinema." Emily hesitated. The Grand Royale had been shut down since the late 80s after a fire during a midnight showing. Rumors said the projectionist burned alive, trapped in the booth. Some said his screams were still echoing through the walls, but peer pressure was stronger than fear. By midnight, the group, Jason, Emily, Marcus, and Zoe, slipped through the broken side entrance. Dust hung in the air like cobwebs. Their flashlight beams scanned faded movie posters and torn velvet walls. The auditorium, though charred at the edges, still stood with its rows of creaky red seats. Jason brought an old laptop and a portable projector. He wanted the experience to be authentic, so he picked a grainy black and white horror film he found on a strange website called deadreal.net. No title, no credits, just the file name, real666.avi. They set up in the very last row. As the movie played, the air turned cold. On screen, a figure walked through a theater identical to the one they were in. It was eerily quiet. No music, no dialogue, just footsteps echoing through empty aisles. Then suddenly, the on-screen figure stopped and turned around. He looked right into the camera. Jason laughed nervously. "Okay, that's creepy." But Emily was staring at the screen, eyes wide. "Guys, the seats. Look at the seats." They did. On screen, the seats were filled with blurred, unmoving figures. One by one, the camera passed over them. Each was still, except for the last row. There, four figures sat, facing the screen, their shapes familiar. Jason leaned forward. "Is that?" Before he finished, the power flickered. The projector glitched, freezing on a frame. The four of them, sitting just as they were now. Same clothes, same expressions. Even Zoe's spilled drink was visible on the floor. "Okay, no more," Marcus said, standing up. "We're done." The screen went black. Then slowly another figure appeared on the screen. Fifth row, back of the auditorium, behind them. It moved. So did something behind them. A creak, soft and steady. Zoe spun around. Nothing. Then Jason's flashlight died. In the pitch black, they heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, walking down the aisle toward them. Click. The projector flickered back on by itself. On the screen now was the live feed of the auditorium, not the movie. Emily gasped. "It's showing us." The camera moved, slowly panning toward the back row. Their row. But in the feed, 5 figures were sitting. Jason counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth figure turned its head, a pale, charred face with hollow sockets and a melted smile. Then the screen went static. The sound of burning film hissed in the dark. Screaming, they ran toward the exit, but every door was gone, replaced by endless curtains that led to more aisles, more seats. The projector kept running, looping a single frame, the back row, now empty. The next morning, a maintenance crew found the theater untouched. No signs of intrusion. But on the projector reel, frozen in melted celluloid, were 4 burned-in silhouettes in the back row, and a fifth, standing behind them, reaching forward. Reel 13. Short horror story. Approximately 500 words. Natalie never believed in ghost stories until she worked at the Regal Crest Cinema. As the new night projectionist, her job was simple. Run the films and lock up. The theater was mostly empty, and the old building creaked with age. Still, she liked the quiet. One evening, the theater manager, Mr. Holloway, handed her a small brass key. "There's an archive room behind the old screen," he said. "Use this only if you're ever called." She laughed. "Called by what?" He didn't answer. Weeks passed with nothing unusual, until the Night Theater 3 flickered on by itself. No one had scheduled a film. Natalie went to the booth, and the projector was already spinning, though it held no reel. She remembered the key. Compelled by something she couldn't name, she unlocked the archive room. Inside, dust-covered canisters lined the walls. But one stood in the center of the floor, untouched, labeled only Reel 13. She hesitated, then carried it to the booth. As soon as she loaded it, the lights dimmed on their own. The film began to play. It wasn't a movie. It was a grainy black and white security feed of Theater 3. But it wasn't empty. Dozens of silent, shadowy figures sat in the seats, still, staring. Then slowly, they all turned to face the camera. To face her. Natalie stepped back. The feed shifted. Now the camera panned up toward the projection booth, showing her exact position. Then the screen glitched. Now she was on screen, live, her reflection, her booth. But someone stood behind her. She spun around. Nothing. The film changed again, now showing a hallway beneath the theater. She didn't recognize it, but it felt real. The camera moved down the corridor, revealing a red velvet chair facing a wall covered in film strips. A figure sat in it, no face, no features, breathing. A whisper echoed in the booth. "Your turn." Natalie ran, but the halls twisted. Doors vanished. Every theater she passed showed footage of her, trapped, running, panicked. She reached the lobby. The glass doors were gone. Only reflections remained, and behind her reflection, the audience, watching. She screamed, but no sound came. Then silence. When she awoke, she was seated in Theater 3, alone. The reel was gone. But on the wall beside her, a new label had appeared, Reel 14. The next night, a new projectionist arrived. Mr. Holloway greeted him at the door, smiling faintly. "There's a reel that's sometimes asked to be played," he said. "You'll know when."